Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to your EVS 1 class. Today we are going to continue with the chapter 6, that is plants and environment. So, in this class, what are we going to learn? In this class, we are going to learn about the food habits of plants and adaptations in plants. Okay, so first let us talk about the food habits of plants. As you can see, I have made two columns. So first, there are some plants which can make their own food. There are some plants which can make their own food. Okay, and again there are some plants which cannot make their own food and they depend on other plants for their food. So first let us talk about the plants which can make their own food. So plants to make their own food, to make the food, they need water, carbon dioxide, sunlight and the nutrients. Now, children, you see, if supposedly you are to cook or our mothers cook, right? If we just give them the water and the vegetables, will it get cooked? No, it won't. You need a vessel, you need the fire. So, for the plants, who gives the fire? If we put the plant on fire, what will happen? The food will cook. The plant itself will burn. The plant only will burn. So how will it make its own food? The sunlight acts as the fire. The fire basically gives heat, and sunlight also gives heat to the plant to make their own food. The water and the carbon dioxide, you can take this as the vegetables. Alright. And the roots of the plants, they take up nutrients from the soil, and you can take these nutrients as the spices in the vegetable. The salt, the turmeric and all those kind of different spices that our mothers use. The nutrients are those spices which help the food to get cooked. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Some plants can make their own food. Which are the vegetables? That is, which are the main ingredients? The water and the carbon dioxide. They get the water from the soil and carbon dioxide from the air. The sunlight, they absorb the sunlight which gives them the heat to cook the food, and the nutrients, you can say at them as the spices. The nutrients are also got from the soil only. Next, we also have some plants which cannot make their own food and they depend on other plants for their food. Now such plants, what are they? Now what do they do? Why are they? Because of various reasons. Maybe some are. Now it is very important, children, that the plant has to be green in color to be able to make their own food. You will see the plants which are not green in color, they cannot make their own food. But again, there are some green plants also which cannot make their own food. A bit confusing? Okay, let me get this straight. Plants are generally green in color. The green color plants can make their own food. Those plants which are not green in color, they cannot make their own food. But some green plants are there. They are exceptions. Only the green color does not matter. There is water, you need to take up the nutrients, and so many things are there. So because of some other reasons, a very few green plants are there which cannot make their own food. But mostly all the green plants can make their own food. Okay. Now, as I said, some plants depend on other plants for their food. Such plants, there are of two types: parasitic plants and insectivorous plants. Now, what are these parasitic plants? What do these parasitic plants do? They take up the nutrients from the other plants which make their own food. Okay, so basically the parasitic plants, they have specialized roots. So those roots, they enter into the plants which have their own food and they take the nutrient from those plants. And then we have the insectivorous plants. These plants are the non-veg, let's say the herbivorous plants. The carnivorous plants. They eat up insects. And take all the nutrients from the insect's body. Okay, we will get into more details. We will talk about these characteristics in more details when we talk about the adaptations of such plants. Now let us continue with the adaptations of terrestrial plants. First of all, the terrestrial plants grow in the mountains, plains, desert, swampy areas, and in coastal areas. So first of all, let us talk about the adaptations that the mountain plants have. So the plants in the mountain, they are tall, they are straight, and they are conical. That is, the shape of the tree is generally conical, and they have narrow needle shaped leaves. Now, do you know the reason for this? They are having the conical shape, they have this needle like leaves, because so that the snow cannot collect on the tree. If the snow collects on the tree, what will happen is the branches will become very heavy and finally they will break. That is why the plants in the mountain areas, they are conical. That is, at the top it is, as it comes down, you all know a conical shape, right? So even if the snow falls on the tree, they slide down and they slide to the ground. Okay. Next we have the adaptations of plants in those plains. In the plains, that is the normal plants that we generally see, the mango, the neem, the banyan tree, and all those kind of trees. So these plants, they have branched roots. They have the branches that are spread out. We all draw a normal tree, right? So the trees are just like those. The branches are spread out, and the branches help the plants to absorb the maximum sunlight. They help the plants to absorb the maximum sunlight, and that is when the plants make the food and store the food which we use as our food. The vegetables, the fruits, the leaves, the roots, and everything. Okay. Next we have adaptations of plants in swamps. Now what are swamps? Swamps are generally those areas which is having clay soil, like very hard, sticky clay soil. Those areas in which the soil is sticky and clay, those areas are generally known as swamps. So the trees that grow in swampy areas, now since the soil is very sticky and clay, so that is why they have the breathing roots. Now why the roots are known as the breathing roots? Because these roots, they come out of the soil for the oxygen and sunlight. Okay, so the swampy areas have a special kind of roots which are known as the breathing roots. These breathing roots come out of the soil to take up oxygen from the air and sunlight so that they can make their food. Next we have the plants in desert, and we all know the example of a cactus. Here in this kind of trees which grow in the desert, they have fleshy green stems. Now we all have drawn the cactus, right? So in the cactus, that green part that you draw, that is actually the stem, and those spines that you draw, those are the leaves. Now why is that? Why the leaves are like that? The leaves are like that so that they do not lose water. Now you know that deserts have very less water, right? Deserts have very less water. So the leaves are reduced to spines so that they do not have to lose the water and they can retain as much water as possible. Next we have the coastal areas where there is lots of water, but also there are strong winds, and many times the water flow is also very strong. So these the plants that grow in those areas, they have flexible stems so that they don't get broken due to the strong wind, and they are having thick leaves. We all have seen the coconut leaves. We all have seen the nuts, the betel nut tree, right? These are generally the coastal plants. Next we come to the aquatic plants. Now when we talk about the aquatic plants, we already know that there are three types of aquatic plants. We have the floating plants, fixed plants, and the underwater plants. So now we are going to talk about the adaptations in this kind of plants. First of all, in the floating plants, what happens? The floating plants, as I already said, they are generally on the surface of the water. So the leaves and the stems are very light so that they can float. If they are heavy, what will happen? They will go down, they will settle down. So that is why the leaves and the stems are very, very light so that they can float on the water. Next, leaves are waxy so that they can float easily and they do not get wet because of the water. And there are air pockets in the leaves which helps there are air pockets in the tree which helps them to keep floating. Okay. Next we have the fixed plants. The fixed plants that are let's say the roots are there under the water, at the bed of the, under the river bed it is there. Okay, so these leaves are very broad, and the tree on the whole they have a waxy layer. Now why do they have this waxy layer? So that they do not get wet in the water and they do not rot. The leaves, so that the leaves and the stem, they do not rot. That is why they have this waxy layer. Last we have the adaptations of underwater plants. Now these plants, they breathe under the water. They stay completely inside the water. Especially when we see some of the TV channels like the National Geographic and the Discovery, they sometimes they show the water, the underwater plants and the underwater creatures, the aquatic animals and the aquatic plants. So there you must have seen. So these are completely, they stay under the water and they breathe inside the water. They have narrow and slender leaves. Now what is the meaning of narrow and slender leaves? They have long and very thin kind of leaves. The breadth is not much. Okay, so children, I hope you have understood the adaptations by the terrestrial and the aquatic plants. In our next class, we are going to talk about the adaptations by the plants which cannot make their own food, and we are also going to talk about how to protect our environment. So, I hope you all have understood, and do not forget to read the chapter. Please do read the chapter, underline the important lines, and if you have any problem, if you are not able to understand any particular sentence or any part, you please keep it marked, and in our next class, that is our next live class, do ask me about the doubts and I will surely clear them. Okay, thank you children, have a great day ahead.